What is possibly the most consequential performance of our time has been ignored. It has not been given the credit that it deserves. One might even say that this video slaps. The very beginning of this video is extremely particular and informs the messaging of the entire video from beginning to end. The parallels that exist here are perfect for the themes that are expressed in King Richard. And yes, I needed a close-up to express that. So let's take a look at it. Listen to the theme. That theme is exactly what you would expect from a fantasy piece of music. And that's no accident. We're talking Lord of the Rings, we're talking Game of Thrones, we're talking EverQuest, which is a reference that probably no one here is going to get, but that's fine, because I'm a nerd. And I know that this is fantasy music. Let's talk about why. So it kind of sounds fantasy-ish, right? But how do I know specifically? How do I know that this is the equivalent and not just happenstance? It's because there's a very specific and different chord progression that is being used that is almost extinct, like that's the word I'm looking for. It's almost exclusively in fantasy music. And that is a very simple chord progression. It is the one chord to a minor 5. Let me show you. Is C major. And then we go to G minor.
It feels so good to be alive.
You hear that? The harp starts, and then we go, and that's the chord Beyonce's on. So why does this matter? Why is this important? Why is it so significant that this happens in the first minute? The whole story of King Richard is two girls from Compton and a father and a mother, a family, have a fantasy. At least it's a fantasy by the definition of every person in the tennis world, where they are trying to convince. Time and time again, you see Will Smith's portrayal of Mr. Richard consistently trying to convince these people, consistently trying to prove that his extraordinary daughters are deserving and that it's not a fantasy. This is the obstacle. This is a woman on a horse. Why is there a horse if this is not true? I ask you. Now it's not enough. It's not enough to go away from fantasy back to reality. No. We're going to co-opt one of the most tropey, ever-present instrumentations in fantasy, which is when you're a military, when you're strong, we bring in a brass section. And so here we go. Look at this.
Give me some horns.
This drum beat is consistent, perhaps even insistent, right? Insistent and representative of the determination, right along with the bass, to give it a lot of nice punch. It's a very great blend of marching band and hip-hop. It's very intentional. The coming of age into this is strong, pushing motion, which is hurting my hips because I'm white and I find mayonnaise spicy, which is why I put it on my tacos. And this is accompanied and followed by a blossoming. And now all of a sudden we have a lineup. Ferocity, togetherness, strength. And it's so in line with the music. It's brilliant. Big image here. We have Beyonce being on top of the world, being on a throne. Now, you might think, well, duh, that's Beyonce. Yes, Yes, but separate. We're dealing with metaphors, okay? So put Queen Bee aside. Don't dox me, please. I know that that's a statement that people are going to go crazy about, but trust me, okay? We're gonna make it relevant to the movie, which is, you know, what Beyonce wanted. Question mark. So anyway, what we're seeing here is Beyonce representing a woman from Compton on a throne. And let's not pretend that Venus Williams and Serena Williams have not been on top of women's tennis for as long as I can remember, actually. Like, I think they're the most winningest tennis players to have ever existed. And the fact that I know that means something, because I never leave my house. Visually, all of this is extremely, extremely compelling, but the musical metaphors are also extremely, extremely strong. We start, right? Fantasy. And now we go from C to F major. It's a big difference, but why is that significant? Why is that significant? Without getting into too much music theory, all you need to know is this. You've got C, E, G for the notes in C major, E, G, F, and A are whatever above that. So the fact that F major is in second inversion means it's higher. It is above C. C is in the beginning. F above, triumphing over C. And folks might say, wow, I mean, just aren't you reading too much into that? If the beginning wasn't what we saw, if the beginning literally wasn't like, here is a Compton girl on a horse, here's some fantasy music. If that wasn't so strongly delivered in the beginning, I would agree with you that a lot of this is probably reaching. But because of that strong initial statement, and because of the consistency of how we go from C to G minor, which is the one to major 1 to minor 5, which minor 5 is, by the way, very uncommon, even in minor. But anyway, we're not going to get into that. Finally, and this is the coolest thing. This is what it's all been leading up. We have F in second inversion, but then it comes back to C. So if we're in F, and the 5 chord of F is C, which is called the dominant, okay? I'm about to blow your mind here. What previously was the dominant, what previously was what was representing constraints and oppression, not only do we go above it, but now we use what's called extended harmony. That is a C major flat 7/9. Don't worry about it. I'm going to explain it. It contains C and it contains G minor. So now we have Beyonce, Compton girls above dominant. They are now the dominant and they've achieved the fantasy. Because remember, that G minor 5 was the fantasy. And now that fantasy has become reality. Boom.